Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Remembrance Bastion studio. Welcome to the show. So, some people say that life is all about timing, and some people also say that buying magic cards is also all about timing. So on this episode, I'm going to be telling you about what cards you need to pick up right now. So, the Fallout Commander precons have released today, and with that, well, a lot of great Commander reprints, and you might not see the actual Fallout versions for some of these, because sometimes when a new card is printed, not new card, but old card reprinted, but, you know, with a new kind of flavor to it, you know, like Fallout, well, sometimes certain cards within that, depending on the art on it, you know, are more expensive, or I guess the references too, and sometimes not. But sometimes when they are more expensive, they actually do depress the value of other reprints, like, you know, Wayfarer's Bauble. Wayfarer's Bauble actually currently, according to the fall cards, is priceless, has no price associated with it just yet, so we'll see where that one ends up. Regardless, Wayfarer's Bauble has been going down further and further and further, and with this reprint from Fallout, it's going to go down even further, I am sure. Only 19 cents right now for this fantastically amazing card. I love you, Wayfarer's Bauble. So there we go. Moving on, another reprint from Fallout, and again, don't be surprised when you don't see the actual Fallout version. Sometimes, again, depends on which one goes up, which one goes down in price, depending on, well, again, the art and all the circumstance around the card. Regardless, Talisman Tracker finally going down in price to a very budget-friendly amount. 3 Achievement Scout for 3 mana. Landers Battlefield to control, you investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you get a counter on this. It's a great way to generate card advantage and generate, well, a massive creature out of this as well. A big threat advantage, too, we should say. Next up, the Talismans were reprinted in the precons as well. So, yes, these are going down in price further. Talisman of Dominance, a great one. Taps for a colorless. Taps for one of 2 colors, blue or black. 1 damage to you. All the other Talismans do the exact same thing except for different color combinations. So, yes, the Talismans, great reprints. Finally, Wizards actually got the hint from the community that, like, hey, so things you weren't doing very well in the precons, seemingly intentionally, were reprinting good lands and also reprinting good mana rocks, and they finally are doing just that. So yeah, on top of Arcane Signet always getting reprinted now, Soul Ring getting reprinted as well, Talisman of the Talisman Dominance, the Talismans have gone down in price significantly. They used to not be very budget friendly at all. Now they are very budget friendly for me. Next up, Farseek, yet another source of ramp that for years was budget friendly for me and then just shot up in price like $3 or $4. Been reprinted a couple times recently. Finally back down underneath $1, just 85 cents right now. Go pick this one up. Source for 1 and a green. Go get a Plains, Island, Swamp, or Mountain on the battlefield. Tap, shuffle your library. Yeah, for budget players like me, I'm going to go get my basic one. But if you're not playing budget, sure, go get your Shockland. Or go get your Alpha Duel if you really have that too. So yeah, a great card when it comes to ramp no matter what your budget is. Next up, Wear Tear, very flexible removal spell, one that wasn't budget for such a long time. Now it is Wear and Tear. Wear is going to be a destroy target artifact for 2 mana in red. Tear for 1 mana in white, destroy target enchantment. You can do both because you can fuse it together. A great reprint at that. Next up, War Room, just 93 cents right now. Tap for a colorless, pay 3 tap, pay life equal to the number of colors in your commander's color identity. Draw a card. Hey, if you've got a colorless commander, this is a shoe-in for your deck because your commander's color identity has no color. So there you go. Just draw a card for 3 mana and tapping this. That's fantastic. It's like Arch Rosca discounted without even having to get that City's Blessing. Also, I mean, 1, you know, color, fine. 2 colors, fine. When you start getting up there a little further, yeah, you might want to pay that amount of life, but yeah, great utility land for colorless or 1 or 2 colors. Moving on, Grave Titan. Yeah, this one saw a reprint in Fallout as well. Though this version apparently is the cheapest at $1.16. Going to Moxfield. 6/6 giant with Death Touch for 6 mana in mono black. Enters battlefield or attacks. You make 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Yeah, obviously, great in a token generating deck. Great in a sacrificing deck. Great in a, hey, I want a big body that can swing and hurt people quite a bit while making an army kind of deck. So whatever kind of a deck you want to play it in, it is a great card for those decks. Blink decks as well, too. Next up, Open the Vaults. Very thematic for, you know, Fallout Vaults. Get it? Sorcery for 6 mana, Eternal Artifact, and enchantment cards from all graveyards to the battlefield under their own control. This is a really big reanimation spell. I mean, keep in mind that it does help everyone. Again, all graveyards. It helps your opponents so they have things. But yeah, if you're building a deck that utilizes a card like this, chances are you're like, oh, I've got a ton of artifacts. Oh, I've got a ton of enchantments. Oh, I'm playing eggs, and I like to get all my things in my graveyard and get them all back out, then get them all back in my graveyard, get them all back out. You're going to be able to take advantage of something like this. Typically, you're not going to be like, yeah, I'll cast this. Everyone gets back a lot of things. Yay! Oh, I lose. Yeah, you're typically going to take more advantage of it. Moving on. Bit Opportunistic. Correct me below in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but I believe this is the actual first reprinting of this very fantastic card. A 1/3 human rogue that costs 3 mana. Whenever one or more other creatures die, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn. So Wizards has been limiting things as of late when it comes to the text that they really like and I really hate for the most part. This ability triggers only once each turn. I don't like that text. It might be needed on this one, though. It's a very powerful effect because it does count your opponent's creatures as well. It also doesn't, say like non-token. So yeah, it's like Grim Horror specs, slightly different. So obviously the potential on your own turn to be like, yeah, I'm popping off and drawing all these cards like Grim Horror specs doesn't really have that, but it has a lot of potential to draw you a lot of cards throughout the game. A great reprint. $1.30 right now. We shall see. Again, where the dust settles with this too. Like, just make sure you're paying attention to these prices. If you're like, I think that might go down a little further, maybe as the days go on. So we shall see. But you never know. Moving on. Bassel Collar, a fantastic piece of equipment. Equipment for 1 mana. Equip 2. Equip 2 has Death Touch and Lifelink. Two very, 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 very notable keywords. Keywords that can be very impactful. Keywords that can work really well with other things, especially Death Touch. Death Touch works incredibly well with like First Strike, Double Strike, any of the strikes really. Triple Strike when that becomes a thing, probably in a year or two. Who knows? And of course, also Trample. So yeah, it works great with any of those. Lifelink, just nice to pad your life total. A very low to the ground, fantastic equipment. This is great for any type of deck out there that, utilizes a bunch of equipment or really wants their commander to have one of these different keywords or both the keywords or just different creatures in the deck that can really utilize it. Like a Tim deck could really utilize a Death Touch equipment. Moving on. Mystic Forge. Yeah, the value on this is crazy. Artifact for 4. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast artifact spells and colorless spells from the top of your library. Tap, pay 1 life, exile a top card of your library. Basically, Future Sight, but slightly cheaper and artifact specific. And also, you can technically just get rid of the top of your library as well, just by, giving a life and then saying goodbye, top of the library. So essentially, you can get rid of a dead card at the top of your library. Maybe you get to an artifact, and maybe you're a degenerate player like me when it comes to artifacts. You're like, hey, I've got a bunch of cost reducers in play. My artifacts cost nothing. Cool. Oh, top library, play it. Top library, play it. Oh, no, another card. Tap, pay 1 life. Exile top card library. Okay, cool. An artifact, play it. Oh, no, another one. Okay, I'll untap Mystic Forge, do it again. Yeah, you can do some pretty crazy things with this in an artifact-centric deck. Very, very, very good card. $1.63. Here's hoping, for my sake, at some point, this becomes underneath $1 so I can start utilizing it as well. Becomes underneath $1. Goes underneath $1. All the words. Moving on. Harden Scales. A really good card for one of the most popular strategies out there. I guess artifacts I should have mentioned as well as one of those popular strategies too. Harden Scales, though, +1/+1 counters. Who knew? That is one of the most popular strategies out there. Enchantment for a single green mana. If one or more counters we put on a creature you control that many +1 counters are put on instead. I always shorthand when I just say counters. I mean like +1 counters. It's +1/+1, just a hard thing to say over and over again without really slipping on it. Regardless, you get this down early, and all of a sudden, every single time you get a single counter, that is going to be doubled. And if you got like 5 counters on something, you get a 6. They're extra value, essentially. But yeah, not technically doubling. We'll get to another card here in a bit that does that. But basically, doubling if it's singular, and most effects on counters are singular. So this can really help you out a lot throughout the game with counter-based synergies. Moving on. Equipment-based synergies. Love Pure Steel Paladin. And, it's a pretty gross card for those kinds of decks. 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Metalcraft, which means you have 3 equipment, right? Equipment you control have equipped 3 as long as you draw 3 or more artifacts. I said equipment. I meant artifacts. Anyways. Basically, it's a card advantage engine, kind of like Shram in a way, though Shram counts vehicles and auras, I believe. But this one just counts equipment. That being said, if you're an equipment tribal, cool. Go get a lot of equipment into play, draw a lot of cards, and also, once you do so, start just equipping things for free, which is just absolutely lovely, especially when you have something like Colossus Hammer, and you're like, yeah, cool, attached for nothing, even though it costs like 10 to equip. Sweet. Smack someone in the face for a lot. You can do some pretty crazy things with this. So yes, this is a great card for those types of decks out there. Next up, Blasphemous Act. This just keeps creeping lower and lower and lower in price over the years. Right now, just $2. Maybe one day this will become a budget card that's underneath $1, but we shall see. Not right now. Maybe after this reprinting, though. We'll see if it goes down even further. Sorcery for 9 mana, but you're never going to pay that ever. And if you do, what are you doing? Why did you do that? That seems pointless. Costs 1 less gas for each creature on the battlefield. So yeah, if you paid 9, there's no creatures on the battlefield. I mean, maybe there's like a certain scenario, like if you have like Karavik can play or whatever the one is, it's like, hey, you play something big, you ping something cool or whatever it is. That might make sense, but most of the time it's like, no. You're going to pay basically a single red mana the vast majority of the time to deal 13 damage to each creature. Perhaps the most efficient board wipe out there in Commander, in Magic, because again, it's 1 mana and you take out every creature. Now, I do say every creature that has like a little asterisk on it because it's like, well, technically, if creatures have 14 toughness or more, you don't take them out. Here's the thing. No creatures like ever have 14 toughness or more, and if there is one, you're probably already in too much trouble for something like this to solve it anyways, because that player's like, oh, I'm Voltroning, and you're like, I should have stopped you earlier. Yeah, okay, number 2, I guess it doesn't get around indestructible or regeneration, but still, the vast majority of the time, this is a 1 mana board wipe that does everything for you, so fantastic for just 2 mana. Moving on, Nesting Grounds, also just $2. Hey, there's the Fallout card. So yeah, again, sometimes the Fallout version is going to be cheaper than the regular version. Again, we're going to see where some of these prices end up settling at the end of the day with the Fallout cards. But yeah, make sure you're paying attention to them. And these are just ones that I'm highlighting that, well, I thought that you should know about. Anyways, Nesting Grounds, tap for any colors, pay 1, tap, move a counter from target permanent you control onto another target permanent. Activate only as a sorcery. A fantastic card. One that helps you out in a lot of different ways. I mean, it can help with just at a base level, like undying creatures or persist creatures by being like, okay, they got the counter after they died. I'll move it away from it, and then it can die again. Or like an indestructible counter, like on the Dominuses, essentially, being like, oh, I got 2 on this Dominus now. Why not? All right, I'll move that one to someone else. Awesome. Or keyword counters, +1/+1 counters. Whatever kind of counters you need to move, do it. Just do it. Anyways, moving on. Bastion Remembrance. Such a good card. Enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So, I mean, ETB, make 1 token. Cool. I mean, it's not bad to have creature fodder, right? Especially when you're probably in a deck that's like Aristocrat style, and you're like, hey, yeah, more creatures better. But also, yeah, basically just a Zulport Cutthroat on an enchantment. Yep, that's great, because enchantments are, in my opinion, the hardest permanents to deal with, typically, when it comes to just like, hey, what typically is out there when it comes to removal. Like, some colors are stuck on, like, I can only get rid of, artifacts if you're red. I mean, you have, like, Chaos Warp type effects. Or, if you have, well, let's just say normal board wipes that are just like, yeah, I'm dealing with all the creatures like a Wrath of God, and everyone's like, okay, cool, but my enchantments are still here. Yay! Okay, so yes, enchantments typically are harder to deal with than creatures. Just another great card for a Aristocrat style deck anyways, though. Comes with a token, also drains your opponents. A great card. Next up, speaking of red cards, I didn't even see this one next, actually, I promise. Maybe I kind of just like, when I was putting it together, I realized this was next to why I mentioned it. But yes, red, Artifact Destruction. Great. Final Blast, a great card to do. So destroy target artifact you don't control. Overload for 5 mana. Yeah, that's very good, because at 1 mana, you can just be like, okay, like, I really need to get rid of that artifact right now, so I'm going to do so. And then at 5 mana, you're like, you know what would be great? I like to keep my artifacts. You all don't get yours, so you just get rid of everything else again for 5 mana. Very flexible, very fantastic, and uncommon. That has never been budget-friendly for me since I've started playing Commander. Next up, Champion's Helm, such a good card. Equipment for 3 mana, equip 1, +2/+2 to the equipped creature. As long as the creature is legendary, it has hexproof. Yeah, there aren't too many equipment out there that protect your commander in this kind of a way. I mean, any legendary creature, I guess, technically. Say a legendary tribal would love this card, but also just, if you have your commander, it's legendary. So, hey, protect it with this. +2/+2 is nice. Hexproof, even better. Be able to say, nah, you can't target my commander at all. I can target it. I love hexproof. Some players out there don't. Anyways, moving on. Treasure Vault. Speaking of things that some players love and I don't, I guess the opposite. Treasures! And not that I don't love them, it's just like, Wizards, you need to slow down on them, and they're not slowing down. Wizards, you have a problem. Artifact land, tap for colors, pay XX and tap, sacrifice, Treasure Vault, create extra tokens. What can you do with this? I don't know. yeah, put a lot of mana into it, make a bunch of treasures. You're sacrificing one permanent ramp with the land, not ramp, but permanent source of mana with the ramp, I can't talk. Permanent source of mana, there we go, with a land for a lot of temporary mana with those treasures. And it's going to be worth it. You're going to be like, at a certain point of the game, just be like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, right before my turn, I got all this mana, I didn't need to use it. I'll dump, all this mana into here. I'll make 10 treasures, whatever it is. I mean, I guess you have 20 mana. You're doing pretty good right there. But like 5 treasures even. And have a big burst of mana for your next turn for a big explosive play. Also works very well in artifact decks because obviously the treasures it makes, but also it's an artifact lands. Keep that in mind. Moving on. Holebreaker Horror. Oh my goodness. Yeah, when they printed this card, it was like, what are you doing, Wizards? A 7/8 with flash that can't be countered for 7 mana, but there's more. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. You can bounce spells, bounce non-land permanents, bounce everything, essentially. There's very easy combos that work with this, too, like Soul Ring and an Ornithopter, essentially. Really just does it. But yeah, basically, very, 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 very powerful card that is really hard to stop. So a great finisher for many decks out there. Have fun. Moving on, Agony Unmaking, one of the best removal spells in Commander, one of the most versatile ones. One that does have a price, but, I guess the price is now $3.59, but anyways, the price of life, too. Instant for 3 mana in Orzhov, exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Okay, you're, if you're in, like, standard, right, 3 life is a decent amount. Okay, you're 20 life to start, you lose 3. That is, you're on a 17. That's like, 15% of your life total? In Commander, it is less than 10. It is less than 10, not 10 life. It's less than 10% of your life total. Again, you're at 40. So 3 life is nothing. And to be able to get rid of absolutely anything except for lands, absolutely anything, basically, at instant speed for 3 mana, yeah, sign me up for that, even with the 3 life lost. But you're going to be gaining a lot of things, though, with Black Market. Enchantment for 5 mana. Whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase. Add black to your mana pool for a charge counter on it. Again, this doesn't say whenever a creature you control dies. It doesn't say whenever a non-token creature dies. Those limitations, those training wheels are not on this card. So you're playing a multiplayer game with 3 other players, most likely, and everyone's got creatures, and they play creatures. Those creatures die. You get a lot of charge counters on this, and also you can proliferate this, and all of a sudden, on your pre-combat main phase, you're getting an absurd amount of mana for free, essentially. Have fun. Next up, Farewell. Oh my goodness, is this a card? Wizards really didn't stop with anything on this card. They're like, just throw everything on it. People are getting tired of Austere Command, apparently. Not really. Not at all. Austere Command's an amazing card. An incredible card. But Farewell, they're like, you know what? Throw everything on it. Sorcery for 6 mana, 4 white. Choose 1 or more. Not limited. You can pick as many as you want. Exile artifacts, exile creatures, exile enchantments, exile all graveyards. So whatever the situation that you want to occur, whether that is one of those things, all 4 of those things, or somewhere in between, you get exactly that. You get to put yourself in the best position that you possibly can with the choice that you're making with this. Because, hey, if you're big on creatures and none of the things matter to you, get rid of everything else. And you still have your army there, and your opponents got wiped out in everything else. The opposite could be true. Hey, like, big creatures out there, but I've got really good artifacts and enchantments. I don't care about graveyards. Okay, so get rid of those 2 then. Just be able to just be so flexible with this kind of a card. Yeah, Wizards knew what they were doing with this one when it came to Commander. Absolutely absurd. Speaking of that, Ruinous Ultimatum. Oh my goodness. It's kind of funny, like, the original Ultimatums, like, some are very good and some are just kind of weird-ish, like, when it comes to, like, using them in Commander. Like, I think, is it Brilliant? No. What's the one? There's the Bant one. I like that one, though, because I use it in 5 color. Regardless, Ruinous Ultimatum is one that was specifically designed for Commander, it seems like. Sorcery for 7 mana. Very specific mana cost. Red, white, black. 7. Incredibly difficult to cast, but you're playing Commander, so, hey, it's a slower format, typically. You're going to be able to ramp. You're going to get things out. You're going to be able to cast this, and when you do, you say, hey, opponents, it's better than a Cyclonic Rift. Sometimes, I guess. This card, boom, destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. They're not going back to their hand. They're not getting it back. Yes, it's not at instant speed. Yes, it's not flexible. Is this actually better than Cyclonic Rift? No. But actually, just when you're casting it, Yeah, kind of, because it just gets rid of the things permanently, essentially, except for like indestructible things. But still, a true one-sided board wipe, essentially, that just gets rid of those things. This can really set yourself up for success. It's a very good card. Very, very good card. Great reprint. Moving on. Panharmonicon. It's a harmonicon. Hilarious. Artifact for 4. If an artifact or creature enters battlefield causes a triggered ability by a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. You know what Commander players love? ETBs. I guess a lot of Magic players love ETBs too, but ETBs. I mean, there's an entire, just dedicated section of decks around ETBs, like bounce decks. You also have blink decks. You also have ETB decks. I mean, there's commanders that just do ETBs like Yarok, essentially. But this one essentially is like, hey, you know what would be great? Let's get twice as much value. And this actually kind of started the trend of, hey, when this happens, do it twice instead. And then Wizards was like, wait, the players really like that. Yes, they did. More. What else can we double? Death triggers. Yes. Death triggers. Yes, do that. Attack triggers. Yes. And then Johnson from R&D came over and was like, you know what'd be great is if we triple things too. Johnson, you're a genius. They'll pay even more for that. An exclamation, those kind of things. Anyways, that's completely off topic. Very good card, $4.95. Moving on. Pitiless Wanderer. Finally reprinted. Wizards, I just would like to say, I wish that you'd reprint this like in an actual set, where it would have some impact on the price more so. I mean, it had a great impact on the price still. Okay, great. I'd like you to just please reprint it again in an actual set. Like, just please. Okay? Like, you're like your master sets, your horizon sets, like those kind of things. Like, do that. Okay? Regardless, still $5 for an uncommon. This card's crazy good. When I first started playing Commander, it was less than $1 somehow. And then it caught on a little bit. 1 for Human Pirate, 4 mana and mono black. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. Yeah. Maybe this was just before Wizards and players really understood just how good treasure tokens are. Oh my goodness. Again, we talked about basically like the stopgaps that Wizards tends to put on like certain cards, like, hey, act fill once each turn, or triggers only once each turn, or non-token. No training wheels. I mean, I guess the only training wheel is that it's whenever your creatures die, luckily. Or this would be absolutely broken if it was everyone's creatures. But still, crazy powerful in the right deck out there. Again, if you've got consistent times where you're getting creatures that go here, there, and everywhere, get taken out. I mean, aristocrat style decks typically, right? You're going to be making an absurd amount of treasures with this. There are plenty of combos around this card. Next up, Lightning Greaves. Another staple of the Commander format is, hey, the equipment that just protects your commander. We already talked about one of them. Here's another one. Equipment for 2 mana. Equip 0. That's crazy good. Equip creatures Haste and Shroud. Yep. Equip 0. So just, hey, you got your commander out. Cool. Put it on there. Okay, it's swing right away. Or activate right away if I have a tap ability. Oh, and by the way, I don't care about targeting my commander, but you definitely can't. So, yeah. Just a very, very, very good card. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. I probably didn't mention that one already, I don't think. But yeah, make sure you're checking those out. And the reprints. Moving on. Branching Evolution. I referenced this one earlier. Champ for 3 mana. If one or more +1 counters, we put on a creature controlled. Twice that many counters, I'll put on a creature instead. That's a really good effect. Again, we talked about earlier Harden Scales. It's an additional 1. It is not doubling unless it is just like put on 1 counter on your creatures. Cool. Then it technically doubles, right? But this one's like, no. If you put 5 counters on every single one of your creatures, then you get 5 more, which is crazy powerful. Obviously, both go great in the same deck. +1 counters, as I mentioned earlier, is a very, very, very popular strategy. So, yeah, it's quite the good card. Speaking of good cards, and one that Wizards really messed up on when they made it, Skull Clamp. But still a thing. Equipment for 1 that costs 1 to equip. Equip creature gets +1/-1. How did you put that on the card? Okay, like, if it was just +1/0, this card would be still very, very, very good, but much worse. Wizards, what are you doing? I mean, from way back then. I don't know why I'm complaining about a card from way back when. But anyways, moving on. Whenever equipped creature is put to a graveyard, draw 2 cards. Oh my goodness. Again, literally just like no limitations on this at all. It's just, hey, pay 1 mana attached to that. Oh, darn, it was my 1/1 spirit. How could I have been so wrong to take out my own? Oh, I drew 2 cards. Okay, that's great. Cool. Replaced them. Thanks. Oh, thanks. Oh, I got a rat over there. Okay, I'll do that too. 2 more cards. Yay! And even if you're not like taking out creatures that have 1 toughness with this, it's still pay 1 mana. Probably utilize a free sacrifice outlet in your aristocrat style deck. Draw 2 cards. Crazy good, crazy powerful card. Next up, an Exual Tide, a card that has kind of been up and down with its price because of, well, a popularity of Proliferate recently. Enchantment for 5 mana whenever you cast a spell. Proliferate. Very powerful effect. Again, all these different kinds of counters. You get to just get additional counters no matter what they are on whatever, essentially. So, hey, +1 counters. Cool. Get more of those. Charge counters. Get more of those, too. Poison counters on your opponents. Absolutely. More. Yeah, this is a great card. Again, counts any spell you cast proliferating. That is crazy powerful. Next up, speaking of crazy powerful, my goodness, when they printed this one. Heroic Intervention. This is one of the first cards that I splurged for when I first started playing Commander with my Rich card deck. I think at the time it was like $3, but again, like I'm a budget player, so that's a ton. It's more than what I can pay right now when it comes to, cards in a deck, because I play with cards that are less than $1. So I can't currently use this one at $9. I couldn't have used it at $3 anyways. Regardless, instant for 1 and a green. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. For 2 mana, that is insane. Being able to protect your entire team, everything on your board from nearly anything. And I do say nearly because, yes, there are certain things this can't protect from, like, hey, a giant edict effect. It's not going to do it. But, hey, most things, the vast majority of things, like, no, 2 mana, didn't happen. Or, yeah, I cast my own Wrath spell. But wait, 2 extra mana, let's protect my entire board. Thank you, goodbye, everything except for my things. Make your own Ruinous Ultimatum, essentially. But yeah, such a very good card. $9 right now, and apparently the default version is the cheapest. Next up, Guardian Project. Another card that's like, Wizards, we know what you're doing, okay? We know you know where the actual demand for Magic cards is these days, and it's in Commander. This card is not an original Commander card. I believe it's in like some of the Ravnica sets. Enchantment for 3 and a green. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as the other creature control, creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. If that's not built for a singleton format, I don't know what is. Yeah, Guardian Project is a crazy good card. Basically, all this is hey, whenever you have a non-token creature in the battlefield, draw a card. Unless you're playing like a Relentless Rat stack with this in it, then that won't work. But the vast majority of decks are singleton. So, yeah, get a creature and play, draw a card. Absolutely crazy, absurd value. Green gets all the draw. You know what they say back in the day. It's like, you know what? We're going to split up the color pie. Here we go. All right, red, you get damage. Blue, control, and card draw. White, nothing. Black, broken things. And green, ramp. Okay, actually, card draw 2 now. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Okay, white gets life gain. Okay, and going wide with tokens. Vigor. Vigor is a 6/6 elemental incarnation for 6 mana in green trample. If damage would be dealt to a creature you control other than Vigor, prevent that damage. Put a counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. Whenever it's put in a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle into someone's library. A crazy cool card. A crazy powerful card. If you've never played against this, you can be like, how do I get through? You don't. And if you try, those creatures are getting huge. So basically, again, any damage dealt, and again, it's not just combat damage, it's any damage. Any damage dealt to those creatures is just going to make them angrier and larger. And if you deal Vigor, it's going to go back in the deck and then come back at some point, most likely. So yeah, it's a very good card. Currently $13, again, with that reprint. An unexpected reprint. Another unexpected reprint, Walking Ballista, which apparently is an Assaultron Invader. Cool. $15.39. Enters the battlefield, X counters on it. Pay 4, get a counter on it. Move a counter 1 damage to any target. It's an XX for the cost. This is a very, very, very good card. This card combos with a decent amount of things out there. And, yeah, it's very powerful, very popular. Yeah, got nothing else to say about that. And I think... Oh, wait, no, one more. Here we go. Crucible Worlds, my last one. Look, I didn't miss that one. Artifact for 3. You may play land cards from your graveyard. Very simple, very effective, very, very, very powerful. Here's the thing. If you're playing this in your deck, chances are you have a decent amount of fetch lands, or at least you can go get a fetch land, or just like an Evolving Wilds. And every single turn, you get a land. You hit every single land drop. Oh my goodness. Again, get the Evolving Wilds out. Tap, sacrifice. Go get a basic from your deck. Pick your Evolving Wilds out of your graveyard next turn. Play it again. Tap, sacrifice. If you're playing landfall, that is 2 landfall triggers guaranteed every single one of your turns. Gross. Crazy effective card for the right deck out there. Very powerful, obviously. So, yes, lots of great reprints from Fallout. Yeah. If you are interested in any of these cards, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Make sure you pick up the ones, that drop to the price that you like. Again, everyone's got their different kind of, budget scenarios. They're different kind of budget limitations. Mine are, $1 or less. So I'm hoping that some of these that are really close drop right beneath that at some point. Maybe one day Blasphemous Act will be a budget-friendly card. We shall see. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on these Fallout reprints. Let me know what your thoughts are on the art. I think the art's pretty cool too anyways. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.